Thank you for taking a minute out for the show today. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to being on your show. Tell me about your guests and your show real quick. What you
I have two things that I do as far as show and audio. I have a jazz radio show in Kansas City called Neon Jazz. And then I
Yep.
was approached by Podmatch about 2 years ago because I'd done some other interviews with authors and creatives and whatnot. And I was approached by this platform, and I've expanded this feed called Famous Interviews, and it's just it goes out to everybody. So this is
Okay.
kind of a catch-all feed. So there's professionals and creatives and all kinds of people that are on this feed. So it's a pretty good audience.
Awesome.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
but at any rate, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out. And I want to begin our conversation before we get into your work by asking you, 4 years ago, we were trying to figure this pandemic out. And
Yeah.
now we're kind of in this post-pandemic era. How did you survive that time period and how did it change you?
Yeah. So, pandemic for our business, I mean, obviously we took a big hit. Because a lot of our businesses were closed. All of our restaurants and all of our retail America that processes payments on our platform, probably overnight, 75-80% of our book of business shut their doors. We're very fortunate to have been good stewards of our money and running our business in the proper way. And we were able to keep all of our employees on staff and tell everybody to work from home and work through it, right? You look back on that time, and it's I think from our age bracket, and you and I are probably similar age. It it didn't really. I don't think it affected me. It gave me some time at home with my kids and my family, and kind of like a little mini break, if you will, of your day to day, grind of life. You were out riding bikes and walking on the roads, and the neighborhood was more active than I've probably ever seen it, right? Because people were just looking for something to go do. And so that was kind of neat. It was kind of you take the positive spin on things. um, but we've been able to rebound from it, and we've been able to build our business back. I don't think our country will ever shut down like that again. I could be wrong, but I don't see it happening. But we were able to ride the storm and come out of it. And I think kids have, watching these kids today, and, I've got my oldest in college now, and, watching them and, online courses and all this stuff. And it's almost like they become like where they want to take online classes, and I don't totally understand that, but it's a totally different world now, and how these kids think and how they react to things. And but personally, I don't think it really changed a lot of what I do from today's standpoint.
So you are the founder of Pay Proudly. You've been in payment processing for decades.
Yeah.
But if I put you in front of a bunch of third grade students at career day and one of the kids
Yep.
was curious and said, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How would you
Yeah.
break it down and explain it?
Yeah, so I would break it down exactly what our mission statement says, that we bring clarity. And when I say we bring clarity in a business space that doesn't have clarity in it. So there's the majority of business owners, and I look at a third grader. So when your mom and dad are out paying for things, they're paying with their credit cards, and those business owners don't understand why they pay the fees they pay. They don't understand the proper ways to be set up for credit cards. They don't understand, are there ways around paying the fees? What is the real, just what goes on in this whole credit card world? Business owners don't understand it. They don't even really know what they pay for fees. And so the first part of our mission is really getting to know our merchants and really getting to them to know us and us to know them, and how they run their business and what they do, so we can go in and actually offer solutions to those problems, and bring clarity around a space that just doesn't have clarity in it. And the second part of our mission is that we give back to charity. So we take a portion of all revenue from every business that we make, and we support local nonprofits through credit card processing at the merchant level.
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
Third grade. I'd say I always had I don't know about third grade. I can't probably, probably a fireman like every other third grader, right?
Yeah.
But I can say that I was at a young age, I had that entrepreneur spirit in me. I was, fifth, sixth grade, I was already wanting to cut the neighbor's lawn, and, and do this to make a little bit of money or wash their car or do, just, and that's what got me through high school and college, cutting grass and washing cars. And I just had that entrepreneur spirit. I knew I always wanted to work for myself, and didn't ever think it was going to be credit card processing, but fell into this world in college and did it part time for a little while, and had an opportunity after college to get into the business. And here I've been, and I've been doing it since the late '90s. So um, still selling credit card processing. I would have never guessed it, but here I am.
It's interesting. I was interviewing someone that was in insurance a few weeks ago, and I was like, there seems to be big payouts. How does the insurance industry survive, just from a civilian standpoint? And he was mentioning how everybody pays into it. And I think about with what you're doing, everybody
Yeah.
has a credit card. There's fees all over the place.
Yeah.
Everybody's paying into it one way or another. It's so voluminous. It's just a part of our world.
Yeah, 100%. And and I learned at an early age about residual income, and that's, I was all about what could I do to create residual income, right? That I didn't have to sell the next deal every single day to pay the bills this month. And so that's what I always wanted to do. And I kind of fell into this industry. And I finished school and studied finance, and had opportunities with some large companies to go do consulting work. Um, and I'll never forget, best advice I've ever had in my life. My dad was sitting there, and I was looking at these big nice job offers, and he just said to me, he said, Jeff, he said, you can go get that job anytime you want it. He said, but right now you don't have a family, you don't have bills, you don't have big responsibilities. He said, you can come live in my house. I've supported you this long. And he said, you can start your own business. And he said, it may change your entire life in front of you, and it might change what you do. And he said, if it doesn't, go get that job in 2 or 3 years if it doesn't work out. But he's like, take the risk right now while you can take it. And,
Yeah.
and that's what I did. And I've never looked back. So I've never, since I graduated college and got my degree, I've never had a job for somebody else. I've worked for myself ever since then. So,
That's
uh,
great advice. So
yeah,
it's clear that you've had this entrepreneurial spirit as part of your DNA. But I'm
yeah.
curious, when how did the charitable part come in? How did you find that?
Yeah. Yeah, so we had an opportunity about 3.5 years ago, through some, we had been through some partnerships and different businesses and built different portfolios and sold some companies. And we were sitting at a kind of a crossroads, right? And what are we going to do now, right? And we were coming out of a partnership, and we had some decisions to make. And I was sitting at the kitchen table with my wife, and she looked at me and she said, what are you going to do? And I'm like, well, I'm going to stay in the space because I know it. And I'm comfortable in it, and I know what I can do, and I can support our family. And she's like, well, what's missing in the industry? And that's when we started talking about clarity and, what's going on. And she's like, all right, well, that needs to be the first part of your mission statement. I'm like, you're right. And so we started writing it. And then we just started talking about what was important to us, what are our values and what do we see as our vision. And we started writing all that stuff out. And we just decided that day that something that we wanted to do was we wanted to build a business with a give back, and we wanted to build it from the first dollar the company made. We wanted it to be in the DNA of the company. And we felt like it was a value to us, and we didn't feel like it was going to be. We thought the clarity piece was going to be the bigger piece of the business, and this was just going to be an added, like, this is just who we are, this is the type of company we are. What we found is, obviously the clarity is important, but business owners will tell us now, I feel like I'm giving back because of what you're doing. I feel like my business is now giving back. And they're so appreciative of what we're doing. And we have employees that want to work for us because of what we're doing. We have, people that want to be involved with us, and it becomes the topic of conversation the majority of the time. And really, it was a value that we had, and it was important to us, and it was what we were going to do. And we've just blossomed it from there.
So, who's been kind of a hero or an inspiration for you in your life?
Hmm. Well, I mean, probably one of my bigger heroes that obviously my dad was a big, part of, making me the man that I am and giving me the ability to communicate and be in business and do what we do. I would say a lot of the vision of the nonprofit, we were our youngest daughter was born with a heart defect and a brain defect, and a doctor told us pre-birth that she would never walk or talk, and really wanted us to terminate pregnancy. She'll be a freshman next year, and she's, I would say, I would venture to guess she's top 5% of her class. She's crushing it, and she's been through a lot. She's got a pacemaker. She's been through lots of open heart surgeries, and so she's definitely a hero to me because she fights through all that adversity, and I think a lot of we've been involved in a lot of organizations because of her that have probably touched my wife and I, that have made us want to be more generous to help benefit other people. A lot of what happens in your life changes who you are and what you do. And that's definitely had an effect on us.
So if you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating, who would it be? Who'd you love to meet and talk to?
Wow, it's a big one.
Yeah.
Most, if I could meet one person today, I mean, man, with all this political stuff, you immediately start thinking about politicians that you'd want to meet, talk to, and get their vision of, or just views on what's going on in the world today. But I look at some of these people like Joe Gibbs, who has run his company and been through probably more than most men will ever go through in their life, with
Yeah.
losing kids and just the adversity that man's been through, but to continue to do what he's done and building the legacy that he's built, and just sitting down and going and talking to somebody like him about that. And his one of his books, his autobiography is probably one of the better books I've ever read. But everything he does is based on on his spiritual growth and what he's doing and what he's looking at, and real deep thinker. So I'm gonna say Joe Gibbs.
So what gets you out of bed every day? What motivates you to do the work that you do and also evolve as a human being? What is that for you?
Yeah, I think I get up every day because I am driven for success. All right. I want to be successful. I want to give my family, I think my family is the number one thing that I get up for every day. I don't think I'd work near as hard as I do without my family. But I want to support my family. I want to give them the life that they have, and I want to help them, and I want to be a benefit in all that they do, and make a difference in their life, and set the example that through hard work and through dedication, you can build what we're building and what we're doing. So, um, I think my family is why I get up every day.
So what out of all the things and accomplishments you've had in life, what are you the proudest of?
Hmm. Well, I would say I'm proudest of my faith. Very proud of my marriage. Um, and I'm proud of I'm proud of the legacy that I'm building. I think one day people look back on what I've done and what I'm building, and they'll know who I was, right? They'll know the truth behind, here's where his heart was, here's who he was, and here's who he was as a person.
So everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your
Yeah.
perception of you? Who do you think you are? Ah,
Ah,
the
man.
therapy question.
Yeah. Who do I think I'm a person who can listen to people. I think I'm a person who can, you know, who I don't really get real stressed out about things. I listen. I have solutions. I like to offer solutions, and I think a lot of my reasonable thinking is why I get asked to do a lot of different things. Like being on the school board at our kids' school and doing, just I think there's a lot of things that I get asked to do because people can look at me and say, hey, he's a very reasonable person, but he's solid in his views and he's solid in his values and he's not afraid to speak his mind. But I can do it in a correct way.
So let's end this on a good note. Time machine
Ah,
pulls up in front of your business. We get off the call. You can go anywhere in the history of sports and see one game. Where are you going?
one game.
One game.
Oh, man, I need to ask my son this question. This is a better question for him. Um, I don't know, probably the most fun game that I was ever at was actually, we were talking about the Rams before when the Rams won the Super Bowl in Atlanta.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we were poor, newly married, people, and we watched it from the parking lot. So I'm going to say I wish we would have
That's
been
cool.
in the game rather than in the parking lot. But we drove to Atlanta and we were there
Yeah.
and watched the game on a TV in the parking lot. So I'm gonna say I wish we would have been inside the game.
I'm so glad you said that. One of the funnest things I ever did was with my son. He was really young. This was 2015 when we went to the World Series. Game 7 against the Blue Jays before we went to the series with the Mets. We
Yeah,
sat in the parking lot and watched and felt that crowd. It was so cool because we went
it
there
was.
about an hour early, played catch, went up there,
Yeah,
and just to hear, like, I think Zobrist hit a home run and to feel that
yeah.
crowd. So yeah, I dig it. That's great, man. That's the poor man's rendezvous, but it's actually full of really good vibes.
Hey
It's
man,
like
we had great memories, and we were in New Orleans too. We didn't have the same outcome, but we were in the parking lot of that one too.
yeah,
Um, and so we didn't have seats there either, but that's all right.
it's okay.
We were,
It's all good.
yeah,
It's
we,
all
we
good.
had fun. So
Yeah, that's cool. Jeff, it's great to meet you. If anyone wants to hire you, look into what you're doing, reach
yeah,
out. What's the good business?
yeah, we'd love to talk to any of your, listeners about their payments and what they're doing and bring them some clarity and let them participate in our charitable giving. And, we have a fully AI automated proposal system, and they can take that right back to their current processor and just save money. And so we would love to have those conversations. That doesn't cost anybody anything other than a few minutes of your time. They can look us up, payproudly.com. They can look me up on LinkedIn. I've got a profile up there, Jeff Maine. They can send me an email, jmaine@payproudly.com, or just contact us off our contact us page on our website. We would love to get in touch with them. We'd love to talk to them. And I'm open for all those conversations.
Jeff Maine, thank you, sir. This has been wonderful. Best of luck
Yeah.
with everything.
Appreciate you, Joe. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Take care.